Welcome everybody to podcast 111.
Yes, 111.
Did you happen to notice the little change in our intro today?
Oh, did you add?
It looks so much better.
Did you add Adam?
I did. He wasn't even watching.
Oh, I was so busy focusing on. I'm telling you, hey, Carrie, you should add Adam in there instead of actually looking to see that you actually already added Adam.
I saw 4 again, and I just assumed. I looked away.
That's too funny. Can we see it again? Come on,
For sure. I'll pop. Good for you?
Yeah, good enough. Good enough, I guess. I'd have to look at it a lot longer in my old time.
Yeah. Adam was too busy being the notorious cheap guy he is, trying to put his name in for the All-Star draw already.
Yeah,
we're getting entries into this.
I'm getting it all started. There's more people already.
But who says we're going to go to All-Star draw?
Oh, no. I'm just baiting these guys, so when we leave, I can re-enter, and we're good.
You're messing with the people.
The funny thing is, he picked right.
No. Don't admit it.
So it's a whole new world too. I can see the back end side of things because that commentary, but I can see all the back end. Oh, what can I play with now tonight? I'll just sit on my hands and won't be able to
move people around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just another Tim moment, just muting Dexter whenever he feels like it. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know my role here.
So, what news do we have for the banter this week, guys? What's going on?
Well, we released the bowling, the 5-pin U 8-gamer first episode, right?
Yeah, first episode. Our first 2 matches are recorded and done.
It was an excellent match.
It was mediocre at best.
People should definitely watch that one.
You should watch episode 1 at least.
Absolutely.
If it's not for the matches, it's for the support of 5-pin bowling. How about that?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's fun though, right? There was a couple of matches. Obviously, I played. Kevin Holdsworth was successful. Dexter and Carrie, you guys played. Dexter, you won. It's neat to be able to get the tournament on the road, right? And start to get the production going. We're learning more each time. We're learning more, things to do and add to it. So it's fun, right? It's a long time coming to get this going. We're actually going.
Yeah, for sure. And for playing in 3 different centers in the first 2 matches, the scoring is relatively close. Like, it's not like it's a runaway either way. So, that just goes to show, playing competition against somebody, you're still dictated by the other player, even though it may not feel like it, because Bonnie Doon's notoriously really great scoring, and so is Paradise, so is Sherwood. Maybe we'll see more discrepancy when we go to other centers, but they're all top 24 players that qualified, so the scoring should be fairly comparable across.
Yeah. I think you'll be surprised at how close it actually is. I mean, like I said, even those Dawson guys that played a little bit there in November, and the pinfall there was fantastic, really, really good. It felt like playing at home in Sherwood. So I think you'd be surprised at how good the pinfall is across the country. So yeah. It was awesome, and like Daryl said, constantly learning new things. It's kind of a prelude and a practice run for us to doing our pro league, which is great. I mean, the practice is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of Pro League, that's now we've got an official schedule in play. A couple of minor tweaks, but first one is October 3rd, right? Is the day, just a reminder there. But yeah, so for those teams, we're doing one every weekend or every second weekend. Are we going to live stream those, Carrie, or are we going to record and then get them out?
So they will also be a recorded session. It'll be 3 matches. Roughly probably 2.5 hours. We're thinking maybe 3 hours long, and they may be released later that evening, or we may wait a week and release a week behind, or whatever the case may be. But we will be recording just because it's such an early morning match.
Right.
That we don't feel that the audience will be engaged that early in the morning. So hopefully a recorded session later will be better for them.
Right.
Would you release it on kind of a schedule similar to, say, the podcast every Wednesday at 7?
Yeah.
That type of idea?
Yeah, I think we will set an evening schedule, whatever day it may be, and then we'll release it that same time every week.
But I guess releasing it afterwards does give you time to do a bit of post-production. Right?
Yeah, if there needs to be, hopefully we'll have the live stream production value done well enough that we won't have to do much post at all, which it would be ideal, right?
That's Carrie's dream right there.
My dream is I just live stream everything and whatever happens. But I understand the sales side of it, that
For sure.
just recording it or just live streaming at 8 a.m. probably isn't the best for across Canada.
There's some things we might miss in the production side of things, whether it's sponsors or banners or adding little things that we want to make it obviously top notch. So
Totally.
Yeah, make it a schedule. Yeah. We'll take ideas when we want to release it, Len. Thanks. There's one. How about let's go into banter and a little bit of WCBT talk. And we did sort of have an event on the weekend. So we had a satellite, right? I mean, let's go there, to be honest. We had a satellite for the TPC at Sherwood Bowl. How did that go?
Really good. Adam, how'd it go?
Went pretty good for me. No, for first games I've thrown in well over a year, so it was good. I think I ended up shooting like 1581 for the 5, and shot a 415, which felt really, really good. So I think Brett Wren also qualified on the scratch side. And I'm not too certain who qualified on the handicap side, but I think we got 5 or 6 entries locked in for the TBC already.
Martino Marciano and Carson McElroy, and then Braun Perry won a little bit of money, and then on the on your side, Mark Johnson won a little bit of money there too. So a couple people over
Adam and Brett both got entries.
Brett Wren, yeah.
Big scores. I mean, it was nice to see. And again, tournament play. It must have been nice, Adam, just to play in something semi-competitive. I mean, obviously, you're qualifying for a spot, so you want to win it no matter what. But, competition has somewhat began here in Alberta. It's nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Brett Wren shot 1,500 plus as well. So normally a winning score for any type of an event. So, but I think at that point, you just need to be top 2. And with about 3 or 4 frames to go, I think he pretty much locked up that second spot as well. Had a chance to play with Matt Schultz and Tim in front of me, who was absolute garbage. So I don't know how I threw behind him, but it was
so bad we kicked him off a podcast.
Yeah. You need to take a week off, son.
He might be off Dream Crushers too. We might see.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Who plays that first day for a pro league? Do you know?
I don't know.
I know we play.
I have no idea.
First week. Yeah. I think
yes. Our team doesn't, because I should be behind the scenes for the first show, because you never know what we run into. So.
Yes, you should.
Yes, I should.
What about WCBT as well? Autumn Open. We've seen entries rocking for that. I just saw a comment come out. The first shift Friday morning, 8:30 a.m. is totally full.
Yep.
Right. I see on the 4 sheets we're like 200 entries already for that.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of those are re-entries, but that's still, at this point, you're over a month out. And you got your 200 entries filled already, so you're creating wait lists now for re-entries. That's amazing. That's right where we were when things kind of got shut down. Now, hoping this 4th wave or whatever the health departments are talking about, hopefully with the vaccination rates and apparently the institution of vaccine passports and stuff like that it doesn't hurt the bowling events so much as the business. Like, hopefully the businesses are able to keep their doors open and we're able to bowl relatively safe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cross fingers here. Like we know, we're just talking to our guests. Every province is different, right? So we were just chatting with them before they came on about what's different in their province and don't even know what's happening there. So
yeah.
Lucky here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it stays that way.
Yep, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I want to be optimistic about it for sure, But I feel like there's got to be something that comes down the line here, and I don't know what that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be business closures. I really don't. But
I can't see it again.
No, I not, especially in Alberta. Kenny is really against it, but something will be coming down the line, I'm sure, because our numbers are pretty messed up right now.
Yeah. Well, as Brett Hendrickson would say, Berta all the way. We'll figure it out. We'll push forward. We'll be the guinea pig province. We're fine.
Yeah.
So we should pay some of our bills here. So you can become a patron at patreon.com/5pinuniverse for as little as $2 a month. And you can become one of our patrons and support us. And hopefully we can give you exclusive content here coming up with the WCBT season starting, the 8-gamer, the Pro League. You may see some inside film and stuff like that before everyone else gets to. So we'll give our patrons a little bit more bang for their buck than we've been able to do with the whole COVID shutdown and stuff like that. And just like to thank All Star Bowling Sales for being our sponsor of the week again. And we're going to run a quick commercial for them, and then we'll bring in our special guests. So I'm gonna grind some people's gears, or what did we call it at the TPC the one year? What was that?
You know what really plows my pins?
What really plows my pins? JB might be a little butthurt about this, but from the east of Alberta, our guests are from Ontario. Some of the accomplishments that we see that they've sent over is absolutely amazing. And we can't be more thankful for them coming on and wasting some time with us and hopefully provide our audience with some entertainment. So without further ado, we have Dave and Brenda Pankoff from which exact city are you guys from? London, Ontario.
Yep. Go Knights, go.
As I quickly pull up the map of Ontario and start looking, where is London? Where is London?
We're only an hour from the border.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
That's Sarnia. 2 hours from Windsor, 2 hours from Sarnia, 2.5 from Buffalo.
Nice.
So we're like in the hotbed of any
Right in
kind
the
of
middle of it all.
events we want to go to.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wow.
Do you guys go down to Buffalo to watch any sporting events or anything?
We
when
go
you're
everywhere.
able?
We
Oh,
go
nice.
Cleveland, Buffalo, Detroit, Cincinnati especially.
Yeah.
The Reds.
Awesome.
And, Pittsburgh. They're all within 4 or 5 hours. Chicago, 5.5. So
Nice. Oh, yeah.
we love doing the hockey, baseball.
I think you might be the first Reds fan I've ever met.
Yes.
Oh, he's the best player ever. Pete Rose. Most hits. And likes to gamble. I love him.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Can't make the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
No doubt.
Absolutely. One day.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
We'll see.
Him and Roger Clement. Him and Roger Clement should be in.
He has one heck of a handshake. Just ask Tim.
Yeah.
And Johnny. Johnny, too.
Wasn't it
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
the limp wrist handshake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete Rose
Pete-
does, right?
yeah.
He does
Yes.
it in Vegas. In Vegas, I saw him too and got a
$10
book
for
signed by
playing
him.
ball. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's got that store he's always at. It's Vegas.
Yeah.
This is Pete Rose here. And he's just making enough money so we can go back to the tables.
Yeah.
That's right. Pete likes to get right in close so you can't get your hand outstretched so you have a limp wrist when you shake his hand. He's a smart man. He's a smart man.
There's a picture of you shaking his hand, isn't there, Gary?
Not me.
No.
There's
I
one
thought
of
there
Johnny,
was one.
though.
Was it
Johnny
Johnny?
especially. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so bad.
That's funny if you know that before you go in and you try to not let him do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we might as well ask our guests the questions here. So, early years, Brenda, we'll start with you. How'd you get into bowling?
Well, my mom, she used to bowl. I started in Toronto, actually. Came up through YBC. Bowled the 4 steps to stardom, those kinds of things, local tournaments, youth challenge, or it used to be called the Pepsi tournament. Played that. Didn't have a lot of success. I mean, I had success locally in my center. I did make youth challenge in that, but I never seemed to be able to make 4 steps. There was always someone, especially when it was 3 games, it was a lot easier to have a good 3-game set. So unfortunately never made it, other than the youth challenge or the Pepsi tournament, made it provincial.
Awesome. Dave, how about you?
My mom and dad bowled. My dad was pretty good. He was around 250 average. And there was a nice travel league in the city here. They had like 16 teams, and I would go with them every Sunday morning for years. And all the proprietors would let me practice, and it was awesome. So I really got into the game at a young age and got some good instruction. I had Ian Cameron and a few other Jack Hales, few really big names in bowling helped me out, and it really helped. And as far as 4 steps go, I had a guy named Mike Basto, who's actually at my center, who's ranked 3rd all time as a bowler in Canada, and he was just unbeatable. So I was kind of in the shadows of him, but I probably didn't develop until 16, 17, and then got a little more creative with my game, I would say, more than anything. I had some mentoring from Ian, Dan Thomas, a few other guys, and changed a lot in my game, and it really helped.
That's so key as a youth bowler, and you're playing, to have that right advice at the right time to make a key change or make a difference that sends you off doing something different and having success. Right? It's super important for everybody.
Yeah, and you got to be prepared to learn that. I mean, you're either in or you're out, and that's what I find about YBC these days. A lot of them are out. They don't want to be better.
Yeah,
they're just there to be there.
Right at that 15 to 17 age group. Right, it's either they're going to go hard at it or they're just tailing off at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's even younger, 13, 14 now.
Yeah.
Yep. Right when they're done junior, going into senior, it's okay. What's going to be the deal here? Maybe they go into hockey. Maybe they do something else. Yeah. Hockey and bowling really don't mix because of when times are usually in Ontario, anyways.
Yeah,
I think that's everywhere.
I think eventually you get into, there is lots of tournaments available for bowling, and of course they're weekends, right? So you start going down that rabbit hole, and there starts to be every other weekend that you have something potentially. But you're right. If you're in, you got to be in. If you're just on the fringe, then you can be on the fringe until you decide to be in, right? It's not really a halfer thing, right? If you want to be competitive. Now, Brenda, we have a note here that you got some feedback too at one point in time that probably made things adjust a little bit.
I know a couple people on the podcast have talked about the Winter Games in, I think it was 1983, and I was very fortunate to be invited to the camp in Ontario. That's how we chose our team. It was a wonderful experience, but definitely I was told at that point that unless I changed my style, I'd never make it in bowling. I was okay, but my style was a problem, which I didn't really understand. So I came back and I worked with Ian Cameron, who Dave's already mentioned. And I didn't change my style. I guess I just worked on my game a little bit more. And then that's kind of when I broke out a little bit after that. And maybe that was my incentive to do because of that feedback. So.
Sort of in a way, prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that anyone would give that sort of feedback. I mean, even in this game, no matter how different anyone's sort of style could be, as long as you perfect it, you're going to do well. I mean, we've seen lots of people bowl, bocce style. I mean, there was that the lady from I'm drawing her blank.
Newfoundland, Carolyn Skeens.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The two-handed approach and as long as you practice, you put the time in, and you perfect it. You could absolutely do well. I mean, there's certainly things that you could do to make it a little bit easier on you, but to say that you're not going to go anywhere in this game unless you change your style is I find that like mind blowing.
That's what Ian Cameron and Dan Thomas told me. If you're going to throw a hook ball, you'll never go anywhere. So I did. Over 3 years, I developed the backup ball, and 3 years later, I won CBC.
Yeah,
so I'm going, okay, it worked.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But they actually told me you'll never be a bowler if you throw a hook because you can't be that consistent.
Now, to define a hook, was it a big hook, a small hook?
It would probably move 3 or 4 boards.
Oh, that's not barely even a hook.
It's still a hook though, because and you're talking about your wrist being able to go over the point where a backup it can only go so far.
That really makes sense.
That's what they were trying to,
That's crazy.
They're just saying in a general statement that a hook, just in general, a hook will not be as successful overall as what a backup would be.
No, they're saying it wouldn't be as consistent.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want to get into like an argument about it, but like that's totally fair if you're teaching that to kids at the start, they're going along, and obviously it worked well for you. But Adam, how many backup games have you thrown in your life?
Probably about 10 or 12.
Yeah, that's
lots in practice.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I mean. I mean, Adam is like number one in the country.
Okay,
he's not throwing 3 or 4 balls.
I'm talking 30 years ago when wood pins, wood lanes, and the ball would move a mile. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have to throw aggressive, you didn't have to throw hard, but you were looking for the rotation on the ball to give you the pin action. And definitely, I agree, the backup was way more effective on that. For sure. Left to right, a little bit of turn, maybe even 3 to 4 boards.
3 or 4 boards the other way?
Was killing it. So, I mean, but the game has changed over the years with plastic pins, synthetic lanes.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure it has.
What? Where would you guys play league out of? Where did you play league as kids, and where do you play league out of now? Kind of a double.
We played at the same center.
Oh, is that where you two met?
She was a senior and I was a peewee.
We played at Fleetway. We started at Fleetway.
It was Fleetway 40. It only had 40 lanes there.
That's where we started. I know I moved to Center. He was out in Lambeth.
We moved to the farm, and I went to Lambeth Sports Bowl, an 8-lane center, but good scoring.
Yeah. And then
still in the London zone, though.
Yep, it was on the London zone. Do you want to know now where we bowl?
Sure.
Yeah, right now you don't know where you're bowling.
Carpet bowl.
Well, the problem is that a lot of the centers around town have closed, so we don't have a lot of choice. So London only has 2 centers now. It has Fleetway and has Fairmont. We used to bowl in a place just outside here at St. Thomas, and it had a 12-lane center. Took new ownership before COVID, and that's where we bowled the competitive league. But it says it's opening, but September 1st, and we still don't know.
So 400,000 people, that's what we have.
Yeah, so you don't have much.
There's 2 centers. That's too bad.
2 centers, and we only have 1 YBC. The Fleetway kicked out their YBC program about 2014. So we don't have we only have 1 YBC in London.
That's crazy.
That's pretty sad.
And no major league to even be close to talking about.
Yeah.
Is that right? So no adult leagues or no competitive.
Well, there's some leagues, but they're not.
They're not a competitive league, no.
Right.
But the one we had in St. Thomas was anywhere from 175 to 260. So again, that's what you need in order to have enough of people to have a league. But at this point, I'm trying to get something going, and as I say, September 1st, and we don't know what we're doing yet. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Are there other centers close proximity?
Well, Ingersoll is 40 minutes.
No, it's 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Woodstock's 40.
But it's again nothing to write home about.
Big bases.
When we played at Parker Ball, we had some top shooters, right? Jimmy Thorpe and a few other great players.
Kerry Snyder.
Oh, Kerry, yeah.
Yeah,
Can't forget him.
Yeah.
There's the comment from Len. Yeah, Fleetway closed because of Snyder. Yeah. But Len did have a good question that Kerry you brought up. Was as kids, was there cash tournaments for youth in Ontario when you came up? Is that something that was common down there, or competitive, side tournaments?
No, there wasn't. I mean, now there is. I mean, I think over the years, that's what we've been hopefully helped with being part of. But back then there wasn't. Even at times, I know I was very fortunate to bowl in some adult competitive leagues when I was in YBC, but I know the one, and Dave was able to the one league, but the one league wouldn't let the YBCers in until afterwards, until after they graduated. They were very, and yet we were trying to bring those kids along and see what was out there. And that wasn't a cash tournament, but they definitely got to be part of the cash prizes. That was, instead of getting a trophy, you
in leagues.
In the leagues. So, but there wasn't really cash tournaments for kids.
No, but there was tons of bowlers, tons. And we had the men's major league on Thursday nights, and it was incredible. The high averages there was, the scores. We had a Monday night mixed major league that we played in for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And again, nice players, good scoring house, 24 lanes. Owners were really good to us, to everybody, really.
That was good.
It's like back in the day, though.
Yeah.
Right.
You had mentioned, obviously Ian Cameron, Jim Thorpe. Any other people stand out to you back in the day when you first started making a transition as in those, major mix?
A couple of Hall of Famers, Ralph Patero, Tino Patero. They could play.
Local, yeah, Betty Lou Field for me.
Yeah, Jack Hales was Canadian president, and he was a friend also, even because I played at Lambeth, and that's where he coached. And
for Jack
he
Hales,
had a lot of connections. He was on the C5 too.
Yeah.
And I would say he was a better motivating coach than he was a bowler, but he still was a good player. But there was all kinds. I mean, Dan Thomas, who I talked about, he could play the game, and Steve Sachs. All these guys averaged big, could play good.
Back then, yeah. Yep.
And they played. There was an inner city league where they played, Kitchener, Waterloo, Toronto, a few of the other cities in between. I mean, it was awesome bowling. I'd love to see that back again, but it's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be similar to like the interiors that BC has then?
The interiors is more of a
tournament. Okay.
Yeah, it's a weekend tournament, kind of like the open style in a sort of way.
Well, these guys used to travel every weekend. So every Saturday they went
Saturday
to
afternoon at 1 o'clock.
You'd have a home and away. So you'd go to Kitchener, which is an hour away, and you'd play them. And then the next week you might go to Guelph, and then they might come back to your center and stuff. But it was an actual league.
Yeah. So 5 games, 8 points, and 3 for totals overall. So 43 points for the night.
Kind of like the 5-Pin Universe Pro League. Except we don't travel.
Yeah, in person. In person.
And we do it on Sundays.
And we do it on Sundays.
Yeah.
Huh. That's neat.
I'd love to see something like that. Because in Edmonton, the youth have that traveling league, very similar. Right?
There's lots of places around the country that have something similar, travel league that have that. But you're right. It'd be cool to see something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Ontario's so rich, in Southern Ontario specifically, right? So rich in the history and the people, the pioneers of the game. It's we're just barely tapping into it here doing this. Podcast 111. There's so much history there. You look at
Yeah. There was a league in Central Alberta that used to do that, but it wasn't as reoccurring as like every Saturday, but I think it was once a month, and it was seniors based. So the seniors would go travel and play the local centers in Central Alberta. And they did that as a youth portion too. The YBC did that as well.
I'd love to see them do something like that for the adults too, but I kind of tend to agree with David. Like I'd love to see it. I just don't see it happening. I mean, especially we won't be able to do it on Saturdays, right? I mean, there's almost no center that will take that on Saturdays at all anymore. And then you start putting them to Sunday mornings, and I mean, we are so loaded with tournaments and stuff already. It would be tough. It would be friggin' awesome to do unless we started doing it like a Sunday night sort of thing instead, and it would be neat.
So where do you think the transition happened? Did it transition to large cash tournaments, or did it transition to the association tournaments? Where do you think that transition happened, Dave? Like, why did something like that die out?
Well, we had a really nice inner city traveling league too. So within a half an hour of the city, 16 teams, every Sunday morning, 9:30. But the problem was, if you bowled Masters, they wouldn't allow you bowl offs because you could go to the other team captain and say, "Okay, we want to roll off on another day. We can't make it Sunday morning."
Yeah,
because we got 2 or 3 guys bowling Masters. Oh, sorry, can't do it. So that started to really not sit well with the master bowlers that were playing tournaments. So you had to make a choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to play this league, which is great for practice? It really is, because top shooters. Or are you going to play tournaments? Well, I'm here to play tournaments.
Yeah.
So took a back seat. I remember the one year I talked to the secretary. I said, okay, if I play this weekend, am I still going to win high average? Yes, you are. So I played the Saturday in Masters, shot like 12-20 or something, decided not to go the Sunday, shot 16-20 the next day. And then the secretary came up and said, oh, you're short 5 games, so you don't have high average. But you are going to win high 5 for the year. Oh, thank you.
But I just think the number of bowlers, too, you just didn't have as many. I mean, at one point, the ladies' league joined with the men's league just to keep the league going. Yeah. You know, unfortunately, that's what's happened with bowling. You just don't have the numbers to support that kind of stuff. And then now what we're finding, especially here, is that the centers are not here. Like, we may have some bowlers, but we don't know where to go. So.
Right. Well, how many centers do we close down in YBC?
Yeah.
We're program directors of 3 or 4 centers, and I think 3 have closed.
Yeah.
Wow.
We hope not because of us.
You're hoping the black cloud isn't following
That's
you
right.
guys? Yeah. No, I think that, like you said, it's a sign of the times. There's a lot of centers that have closed within even my part of the sport, right? So with your guys' added time, it's bound to happen. And at some point, you hope it turns around. But it's tough when you have to go into a center and everybody remembers paying like $2.25 for a game. Now you're paying $7 for a game. Like the prices are inflating, just like everything else is.
Yep.
But a lot of people can't get that out of their head. It's like, oh, it used to be $2. Well, it's not anymore, and you have to realize that it never will be. You have to adjust to the business as well, right?
Yep. Yep.
And Pepsi's used to be a nickel.
Yeah.
I went to Ed's on the weekend and bowled some 10-pin, and it was $75 for the hour plus $5 each for shoe rentals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
And that,
Wow.
It was,
we did
crazy.
For a gateway, we're doing a silent auction item thing, and they did 2 hours for up to 12 people, 2 lanes, and it was $300 value. Right, so 2 lanes for 2 hours was $300.
So I came back and I was like, I do not feel bad about our prices in the least.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the one thing over the years, we've been very fortunate to be given practice time at places, like with helping out with the YBC and stuff. Yeah. And I mean, it didn't cost us money. If it ever had, I mean, it would, maybe that would have deterred us. But we've been very fortunate across the province to have been afforded that luxury. So very thankful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely chat about some of those volunteer hours and those type of things you've done later. But let's chat a bit about competitive side of things. And let's start with some of those tournaments and the Opens and the Masters and stuff like that. Yep. But we'll start with the Open. Where did that success start to happen? Brenda, you've had a little bit more success making provincials than Dave we see here. So, but you. That must have been fun times and playing on teams. So tell us a little bit about Open experiences for yourself.
Yeah, Open. Well, I really enjoy it. Actually, Dave hasn't played the tournament. That's probably why he doesn't have his money. He kind of picks and chooses one. But I've tried to play it every year. I like it. I like the tournament. I love Sherwood. That's where it was, except for one year that we played in Toronto. But always loved Sherwood. I love second. Yeah, I always loved the format. But we weren't the strongest zone. And I mean, in Ontario, it's quite a big province. When I started, there was 24 zones. A number of times we made it to the finals, but unfortunately it was tough to go up against those strong zones like Hamilton and Central, Toronto. So unfortunately, I mean, I came second twice in singles, but our team never won while I was on it officially. The one year I broke my arm and didn't get to finish or compete on the team, they actually won, which was wonderful. So,
which was amazing because no pole, 5 people.
yeah.
Right.
The
No,
Tim was
so-
telling me about that today. So you guys, they played. They didn't bring up an alternate. They just played with the 5 and had you.
Well,
had you with
we
them?
only had nine
Okay, so you
ladies
couldn't
compete, right? So you had your mixed and you had your ladies team.
Yeah.
So I couldn't bowl. I probably shouldn't have done. I probably just should have gone as a cheerleader. But at the time, I declined. So they wouldn't let them pick anybody else in the zone. They won, but then the mixed team also won that year. So then going to the nationals, they're still only got 5. They wanted to give them the second single or something like that, some runner-up single from a different zone, and they said no. They said, we made it here with 5. We're going to go with 5 to the nationals. So
Were you not allowed to play at nationals because of
No,
you didn't play
no.
at provincial, or your arm was still?
Because I declined. I had canceled out of the tournament because of my arm. Like I broke my arm in January, and I had to write. It was a great big thing. You had to write a letter. I had to send proof. I was suspended, and then you get reinstated. It's just a process. But because I did that, I couldn't be go back into the tournament as a coach or anything. But my zone, they were wonderful. They fundraised and got me to go to Newfoundland because it was in Newfoundland that year.
Oh,
So I
perfect.
still got to go as a cheerleader and stuff. So it was wonderful. I had a uniform.
So you're still part of the team.
Yeah, so we're still part of the team. So that was very, very good. But that was the only time the ladies have ever won, I think, ever from our part of the province. So
How did they do the national?
they didn't medal. I think they did okay. They struggled a bit. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I kind of got the sense that they were happy just to be there, which is nice. I thought they might. I don't know. Sometimes I just thought as a team they could have worked a little harder to maybe make it. And they might not have won, but again, they did wonderful to make it.
Huge props for what they've done. Nobody could ever fathom that.
Yeah,
Big
they
time.
did awesome. So it would have been nice, but but they didn't medal. But they had a great time and that.
Where was the nationals? Were in Newfoundland. Who was on that team?
So it was Brenda Davidson, Jody Craig, Morgan Glover.
Teresa?
No, she was on the mixed. The girl from Windsor. Oh God, now you're.
We're timing Carrie really on the side. I know Carrie's working hard to get.
I happen to have it. If you can't think of that.
Well
That's
done, bud.
terrible.
So Jody Craig, Brenda Davidson, Morgan Glover, Tammy Weaver, and Caitlin Menard.
Yeah, Caitlin Menard. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Sorry, she was the tall one I was thinking of. Yeah, so they did awesome. I mean, they, and as I say, the mixed team won then, that year too. Jim Thorpe was on that team, but they did wonderful as well. So when they went to go to the nationals, they didn't have any. Yeah, they won gold. The mixed team won gold. Yeah. They won gold, but it was wonderful. It was nice that they took me. But that's and as I say, I came second twice in singles. But
Do you remember who
They
you
made the
lost?
step ladder I don't know, 100 times.
yeah, well, I looked at some stuff today. I lost once with a 321, so
Oh wow!
to a 326 and a 275. I lost. The year I came second, I lost to Brenda Walters. The one year I shot a 275. I think she had a 355. And then I lost another year.
The one year wasn't in Hamilton.
It was Brenda one. And then I lost to Lynn White one year. So,
No, you lost to Laura Louise Marsh.
Yeah.
That's who you lost to.
So coming out of your zone though, were you typically in the top 3 and mostly? 37 times going to provincials is a good number. Obviously a fantastic number, but mostly singles and on the ladies team.
Yep, the ladies. Actually, I never made the mixed team until I broke my arm. But otherwise, it was always the ladies team.
Nice, good for you.
So, and sometimes, to be fair and honest with all the other zones, sometimes we only had 9 ladies. I think there was 1 or 2 years we maybe only had 5 the first week, and then kind of had to recruit people. So to be in all fair and honest, sometimes that's what happened. So.
But as Steve says there, to make the step ladder and to get to that point, you had to beat 71 other ladies to get 20 when you had 24 zones, which is
Absolutely.
a huge accomplishment.
Yep.
So, yeah. Fun.
That's a crazy stat. That's 71 singles. That's like our entire men's division and our entire ladies division all in one.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And half the mix is almost our entire open.
Yeah. No, and I don't think everybody kind of realizes that in Ontario that's the way it was. I mean, we're down to 13 zones, or we were the last time, but it was 24 zones of 3. So,
and she has records. We both have records. Tournaments in the Opens, high score, most matches won, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And really tough to do.
Yeah. There's always I enjoyed that tournament.
Yeah, she got up for that. That's for sure.
That's awesome. It'd be cool to see a stat. I mean, like we've talked about this before on this is, 37 times what those number of games played were, those averages over time. What was your scoring record over time? I mean, just for the stat nerds out there to dive into something like that would be just so cool to look at.
Yeah.
I thought the 05 had something like that. Do they not?
Well, they have some like high 5, high 8, that kind of stuff for the Open. So
for
I do.
Every year.
Overall they do. I hold the record for high 5, 16:05 in the Open.
Nice.
I know the singles. Somebody once said about the step ladder that I had a fairly high average because of the times that I'd been in, but I 05 doesn't have that. I think that was somebody else that kept it separate.
Okay.
But definitely had some opportunities there. So. Yep.
So how many times did you play in the step ladder?
Well, that's what I can't remember.
I think about 9. That's
Okay.
what I'm thinking.
Now, on the harder question side, anything any advice that you pass along to people because you never won the step ladder, but you played in it a lot of times, or is there anything from year to year that you would teach yourself or learn from yourself, or what kind of advice could you give to somebody for playing in the step ladder?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that game goes by so quickly. And it's, I played a couple years where it wasn't, you had to beat the first person twice. I think both years it was. Right. It was just a straight step ladder. So it goes by really fast. And I think part of it, I tend to be a fairly excitable bowler to begin with. So trying to calm myself down, take it easy. I've been fortunate enough to coach a couple people in that tournament as well. And same thing, is just trying to keep focused, one frame at a time. But just try and slow things down because I just remember your 10 frames are gone in no time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's not like a skins type of a game where you can kind of reset either, right? After a frame and go with that, they can really get away from you really quick.
It does, yeah. Yeah, and you can bowl well and still get beat, that kind of stuff. But it's, I think just trying to slow yourself down for those 10 frames and see where you go.
Yeah, you've gotten there. You've obviously bowled good enough to get there. You are good enough to get there. It's just now it's step ladder time and sort of turns into a different beast, if you will, right? Just to work your way up from 5 to 4. There's enough tournaments and bracket systems. It's a tough go playing in matches like that.
And they had a Calcutta there, which was good too, because you can make some nice cash, men's and ladies side, right? So, the higher up you qualify, the more money you get. That went on for a lot of years.
Do you have a disclaimer here somewhere?
You were super quick on that this time, Gary. They barely got that statement out.
His eyes perked up.
It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it is in Alberta now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's kind of neat actually that you speak about that. I didn't realize that those Calcutta situations would happen in like an open situation.
Yeah, they did for years.
Jack Hales was the auctioneer, and he was pretty good at it.
I love that idea for singles only, though, not for teams. Or do teams do a step ladder too? Just singles.
And sometimes they might raffle off a package of a couple bowlers that just made the cut or whatever, but sometimes it was worth the $50 or $75, and the person throw $1,500 and make the top 10, and you get some money back.
Yeah. In Alberta, we only have 15 players for guys and girls. That's only 30 people total. We could totally do like a hidden underground online silent auction. We could totally do it.
Bitcoin only.
Yeah, you totally do it. You have to do it for the 15, right? You'd have to do it for the 15. You couldn't do it for the 5 that make the step ladder, right?
Yeah, we would do it ahead of time, but I mean,
for the whole thing.
That's possible.
Or draw some sort of a raffle draw for ticket.
It's a good thing Tim's not on here right now because Tim would be losing his mind. But
he's not.
Yeah.
I hope the AGLC does not listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
There's nothing illegal and nothing underground happening.
Yeah. Sorry.
Look
Forget these last 3 minutes. Yeah. But how about Dave? You, Brenda mentioned earlier, you made the choices to not play in the Open as much, but still managed to make it a number of times out of your zone. Tell us more about your Open experience.
I started off in another zone called Middlesex Elgin, and I was 18. I made the mixed team. It was cool. And, I mean, we used to go down and watch as teenagers before we were able to play, and it was such a great tournament. The fans – like 400 or 500 people in the center, and the parties after, it was like crazy. We owned 2 hotels right downtown Hamilton, hospitality rooms, party rooms. It was just quite an event. And the second year, I ended up qualifying first in my zone, starting off with 7 300s consecutive.
Nice.
Then I threw a 240 and a 300 again, so it wasn't too bad. So I shot. They were all low 300s, but I shot like 29.50. So I qualified first, and I was really looking forward to it, and I just caved under the pressure when we got to provincials. But I learned from that experience. And then I moved to London. I didn't move to London, but the zone became London because that's where I was playing. And a lot of good shooters. And we just could never click. I would make the men's team, but never singles, 4th, 5th, or 6th. And our teams just never clicked, and it was sad. And then I moved back into Mid-Elgin when the zones readjusted, played there for a couple of years and had some success. Never made singles again.
Made singles.
Only once. And but again, it was a better zone for me. Good bunch of guys on there. We had a great time bowling, but they started taking things away at the provincial level. We used to have a hospitality night where Molson would supply all the beer you could drink, and there was prizes for singles. You didn't win cash, but you won prizes. And if you were on the teams, even the top 3 would get prizes. You would get something. Gradually started taking everything away. And it became, okay, do I want to take – I was a shift worker at the hospital, and do I really want to take the weekend off, which was always Easter weekend, lose all this money – to get nothing, basically a trophy, a plaque. And it just didn't sit well with me, so I picked and chose when I played. I made team singles first? No,
You
I don't
made
know.
singles in 98 and then men's team in 2000.
So singles 98, played really good, picked 6, 8, 10, lost by 7 in the 10th. Adjusted didn't make a difference. And that's okay.
It sounds like that hasn't affected any thoughts. Like that hasn't burned.
No, it
didn't. Yeah.
It didn't.
Rarely think about that one at all, hey, bud.
But that's okay. I made it to the show. I was good. Okay. So then I really wanted to make it the singles and teams. So we made the singles and teams. And we qualified 4th. And so we played 3 games. I shot 3 300s, and we ended up losing to Micro in Central Ontario. They had a dynamite team, Jeff Canham. I mean, awesome players. We did really well. And I said, I'm good. So I didn't play for 12 years.
Oh.
And the next time I played with my wife. We both made the mixed team.
Nice. Oh.
That's awesome.
And I never played again after that. So that was
So we'll see. Yep. We'll see.
I like that attitude. That we'll see. I like that.
No.
No, we'll see.
Love
Well,
it.
he picked some
I would have
choosers
liked to
first.
play when Brenda was good because she was a force in the Open. She would just be able to play that game.
Yeah.
Now I know the podcast has had some pretty stellar players from Southern Ontario that have come on in the past.
Yep.
More from we'll call it like population rich zones that they've had significant success on teams.
Yeah.
Now, from your standpoint, I guess from a zone that really had a difficult time just to field teams. What was there a higher emphasis of going in to maybe try to qualify as a single, or what did almost force you not to play the event?
No, I never. I always like playing the event. I like playing it regardless. I like the competition. I love playing against the other teams. I love trying to be the spoiler, that kind of stuff. But definitely understood my limitations. So, probably I'd be disappointed if I didn't make singles because I felt that I had a better chance there. But I'd still play. I wouldn't not play, I guess, because of that. But definitely there were some hotbeds, and people made it year after year because they were they were surrounded by a number of bowlers, not just one or two kind of thing. We probably had, 3, maybe 4 bowlers, but we really didn't have that, 5 or 6 to kind of round out the team.
And the other end, on my end, if we could have picked our team, we always had a good team. But there would all be 1 or 2 fringe players that got in there, and it would hurt. It really would hurt.
Yeah.
Because you're loaded up with Toronto and Hamilton especially. Yeah. I mean, all huge averages plus home lanes. Remember, we always had it at the same location every year. So if you loved it, it was great, Mr. Thorpe. If you didn't like it, you don't know what it's like.
And I loved it. I mean, I loved it. And the one year that we played in Toronto, and then recently we played in Ottawa, but otherwise it was at Sherwood for many, many years.
But it was free fall, and then they went to strings. I had a lot more success on strings.
Yeah.
And now it was always Sherwood just because of the capacity and hotels.
Capacity and central. It was central in the province. I mean, we went to Ottawa a couple of years ago, the 2019, the year before COVID, and everybody had to go up there, which is fine because they always come down here this way, right? But there was a bit of resistance with that. With them going, they do have some bigger centers up there to host it, which is good. But definitely there were some grumblings. Unfortunately, because as I say, they went to Hamilton every year. But Hamilton it was in the middle of the province, much easier for everybody to get to.
So with that capacity issue or anything like that, and you said like kind of the grumblings with Ottawa, does that mean, or has there been talks that it might be moving towards Neb's Fun World if they can host it because they have such a large center?
Well, that
nice.
No, that was a plan for 2020. And my understanding now, I think everything is up in the air with going forward. We don't know what'll happen, kind of thing. It's tough with the centers being, out of business for how many months as to what'll happen. I mean, Neb's, I like Neb's because I think it's the nicest center in Canada from all the ones that I've been at. But I also understand it from the business side as well. So I don't know. I don't know what'll happen with the Open next year.
Right.
We may be looking at, like with the Masters, when the Nationals, you go to different centers. The tournament men go here, the tournament ladies go here. We may end up being that because we need at least 12 lanes for each division in our province. And
then you just run into a huge logistics issue for the host, right? They gotta come up with how are you going to transport all those players, all those different teams to different locations. It becomes a national in a provincial.
Right? That's right. 100%. Yep. Yeah. 100%. Timing and, especially for your singles and your teams. So we may have to rework how you run that tournament if we ever get it running again. So.
A national is actually less work. I mean, realistically.
Yeah.
There's 8 teams for each division.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Before we go on, we'll go into Masters here next, but I think something you mentioned about competing still at provincials and wanting to play in that event and knowing that you only had 3 or 4 and the likelihood of a team not winning, but you always wanted to play for the atmosphere, for the competition, for yourself to compete against players. But then you said to be a spoiler, right? That does mean something for sure, is that, what you're going to other teams have to earn their win,
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to fight, Brenda Pankoff in order to get that point against London, region. We obviously have some weaker zones here in Alberta, and somebody who comes to mind is a Bonnie McDonald, guys, right?
Yep.
She goes many, many times in her zone, knowing the likelihood of the Northern ladies aren't necessarily going to compete against the powerhouses, but she loves playing in the event, loves playing spoiler, and loves the party side of things, right? So it's something that she'll always play in. So I think that's something important for a lot of people out there is don't stop playing because of you might not win. Play because you might not win, and it's going to give you a new drive for something different. So it's cool.
Sorry, did you say the party side?
Yeah.
They've ruined that too in Ontario because you always used to get a morning or an afternoon off, and now it's like both singles, both 7 games, and both 8 games. So everybody's dead. There's nobody partying. Everybody's asleep.
No, ours is all day long. There is no mornings off or no afternoons off. You're stuck at the center the whole time.
It's 8:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, and we
and that's what I was.
It's a marathon.
We still party.
In our early days, we were still up late. Yeah.
But then how can you be sharp the next day? I mean, you either bowl or you party. You can't do both.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
easy, Coach Dave. Settle down. Yes, you can.
Okay. I know
there's a few. There's still a few that can.
Anyways, we'll go on to Masters. Adam, you got some pretty cool stats there for Brenda.
Yeah, but first I've got to throw Timmy under the bus. So I honestly didn't know that I was on until about 6:35 today. So I did take a look at this a little bit late, but I must say, just taking a look at these accomplishments for you, Brenda, in the Masters, it gives me goosebumps to read all this. So hopefully I've got enough breath. But we're showing 41 years as a member with 16 tournament master wins. 3 of those happen to be with Dave in the mixed events in 90, 94, and 2000. Of those years, there's also 18 national appearances, 12 as a bowler, as well as 6 as a coach. 6 tournament ladies team champions in 86, 88, 94, 98, 2001, and 2003. Go along with that is a tournament ladies singles champion victory in 2000. As well as a tournament men's team coaching champion in 2013, as well as 2 seniors team coaching champions in 2016 and 2019. And one other stat, a 1983 tournament ladies team bronze medalist, and 1989 tournament ladies team silver medalist, and 2017 as coach. Wow, quite the list.
Thank you.
Where do you start with that Masters record, right? What highlights? What stands out for you when you think of your Masters accomplishments, Brenda?
I think the number of times that I was fortunate enough to make it from Ontario, because again, Ontario is a pretty tough province to make. So I was very fortunate to do that. I mean, my most special time was in 2000 winning singles. I know, Adam, I think you said that you have never played in your home province, but I've been fortunate enough a couple times to play, and playing in my hometown was even more special. Wow. Right? And I mean, that was even a year my mom had been diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor, so I knew this would be the last time she saw me. So I think there was something extra on with me that day, but I was very fortunate to win. Our kids ended up being the flag, how they have the flag bearers come in? They both did that.
And that was hospitality room. Yes, Joe.
Couldn't think of a better host.
And then we rocked that place. We ran out of booze.
It was very good.
The hotel gave us booze.
Yeah. So it was very good. Over the years, and now I guess I've been fortunate enough to be chosen as coach and have had some success with that as well. So it's nice. I mean, I love Masters. I like the format. I mean, it's different than the Open, right? You got 5. You don't have a poll, but really you have 5 of the top ladies in the province. Attending that. So, and I mean, I love the traveling I've done with it. Over the years, we've tried to see the country, and it's one of the things I keep telling my kids. We've been very fortunate to see the country through 5-pin bowling.
It sure makes a difference. I mean, obviously, as a couple, you're both bowlers, so you both understand, what the work, the effort, everything that goes into it, and it makes it sure a lot easier if Brenda's playing in it and Dave's along for the ride and taking the family along, right? I mean, it sure makes it nice.
The kids were players too. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
There's nobody better than I see than my son, and he quit at 12. He wanted to play hockey.
Right.
He still holds the Canadian record for Bantam score high single.
Ontario record. Sorry.
Ontario
record.
High average at the Nationals. Didn't win because it's win-loss, right? It's not score.
Not pinfall.
But they both played the game, and they when they were younger, they came with us everywhere we went.
Yeah. So it was good. Yep.
You're the 6 tournament ladies champions. That sort of stands out to me. 6-time champion. That's I mean, 6-time gold medals is pretty awesome. Any of those ones stand out to you specifically? I mean, 86 might be a few years ago. You may not remember those ones, but how about 2003?
86 was pretty special. Again, it was at Sherwood in
First one.
Hamilton. And Connie Ward was on that team. And then I think she was just out of YBC. But it was wonderful. I know that year I went undefeated in all my matches. But I think the tournament men won that year. Anna Schwartzman, I believe, won. And Rob McGregor, I think, came second to Tom Stevenson. So we, as a province, we had lots of success that year as well. But the ladies in Ontario they were always very fierce competitors. So it was wonderful to be able to be part of those teams.
Did you, with there being so many ladies, did you play with some of the same ladies on some of those teams, or was it usually a mixed bag of what's different this year? I mean, Connie and Brenda and the different people, or did Ontario have consistency even still with so many people playing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think there was, but I guess when I look at the 86, 88, I was probably in with Sue Topping, or Sue Wise, as she was known. So I played with her a couple of years. But then as I transitioned down, it would be Connie, it would be Brenda that I would have played with. So there were different people, I'd say, every year, not necessarily the core group, but because I spanned over those 17 years, there definitely was. I think I was fortunate enough to bowl with some of the older ladies that were awesome. In Ontario, I think especially the early 80s, late 70s, there were some great ladies teams. So I got to be part of those with those women, but then I also got to be part of the newer generation too.
Right.
It was good. Yep.
And looks like Kathy gave a shout out for 2003. So was Kathy on that team for that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That was in Gatineau. Yep. Yeah,
nice.
It was very good. It was awesome. Yep.
Fun.
Was there any ladies that you particularly loved or hated to play against at national level?
Oh, in the other provinces?
Yes.
No.
Is there anybody that you loved, having certain matches, or maybe somebody you had difficulty playing against?
No, I mean, I love playing the Manitoba ladies. Chris Monchak, Karen Armstrong, Sandy Anderson. Loved being them. I mean, Diane Violini, Jennifer Marshall, Tracy Smith. But then
Helen Godmere.
Yeah. I mean, it was wonderful to see them and be able to compete against them, right? Because they're so wonderful in their own province.
Now, this might be another tough one, but with you being the spoiler in the open side of things, was there any rivalries that you would experience internally when you would go to play for the Masters? Like the ladies that would be like, "Oh, Brenda, you just beat me, and I don't want to play with you in Masters," or was it just always like, "Great, we want you on the team now," or you know what I mean? Like, was there a difference from the Open to the Masters within Ontario?
I don't think so. I mean, there were some people that I would have. I mean, I guess you're fortunate enough to make that tournament. I don't think I'd ever say I didn't want to play with them. Yeah, I mean, I think there were some teams it was more difficult, maybe because of the makeup of the team. But I would think you'd get that with anything, right?
Yeah, any zone or any province has that.
Yeah. So you just have to make do with that. But no, I don't.
It probably makes it fun because you're always constantly playing them at the Open, and you're competing against them, to finally get on a team with them, knowing they're so good, because you're constantly playing them all the time, and then you actually get to cheer them on instead of rooting against them.
That's right, absolutely.
Again, the Bonnie, right? We relate to that here. She gets to be on the team now.
Yeah.
Even the Diane, I mean, she had the success in the team too, but in the Open. But
And I think one of the things about what I really enjoyed is not just competing with them, but getting to know them. Because, you know, as you said, like, I mean, you compete against them, but then here you're together, but you're out socializing, you're finding out, you know, where do they work, what do they do, what are their hobbies. So it was always kind of nice to see that aspect as well.
Right. Total sense.
Love it.
And then a couple of times, and now recently as coach, tournament men's coach champion in 2013. That's pretty neat, obviously, to get selected as a coach and for the strong men's side there.
Oh, it is. And that was very awesome.
Who was on that team for 2013? A lot of us would know those guys.
Yeah, so they're both Torvilles, Bobby and Mike Torville, Ian McLean, Jeff Stevens, Mark Goulet. Is that my 5?
That's
Did I
your
get the
5.
5? That's my 5? Okay, good. Don't want to miss anybody. It was, I mean, they both awesome, incredible. That was the year that the flooding, right? Because we were supposed to go out a week early and had all that. But the guys bowled incredible. I mean, it was very cool. Yeah.
That was a crazy year. There was a lot of things moving from hotel to hotel, really wondering if we were going to have a nationals at all.
Yep.
You know, that was a whirlwind weekend, but it was fun. That was a good.
Yeah.
Where would you have played Chinook likely? Or all over?
Paradise.
Couple places.
Paradise.
Yeah.
I think it was just those two. Yeah. It was good, and then we had the rodeo.
Yeah. Oh, the rodeo. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. It was a hot day.
Well, it was definitely. Yeah.
And then obviously coaching the seniors then to a couple champions there in 2016-19, because seniors is a different format once you get to nationals, right? You're a POA, you're not a scratch.
POA.
So
it's POA, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's still, you know, I know that in 2016, like Jim Thorpe was on the team, and, you know, I said at the end of a you know, bowling, it still comes down to you whether you have to make the shot, whether it's you know, for a scratch or POA or whatever, you still have to make the shot, and you're the better bowler down there on the bottom trying to make the shots, right? So, I mean, I've enjoyed that as well. I've coached the teaching ladies and teaching men. Different format, but you still, at the end of the day, you still have to make that shot. So.
Yeah. But coaching too means a lot more.
Yeah. The coaching side of it is so unique. I mean, especially obviously in Masters, you know, you have your tournament division, and you know, there is a little bit of coaching, but it's a lot of like team management, kind of the same as the Open. Whereas you get into the teaching is a lot of actual coaching too, and team management, and then a lot of math. I mean, bowling is so much math already, and then you add in the POA aspect. It's so much math to sit there and think about all those things going through, and But
I think I like it because I love math.
Oh,
so I love keeping score. Like if you have a place that doesn't have electronic scoring, I love keeping score because I just like doing that with the numbers. So I find it fun doing that.
Totally. Did you enjoy doing the teaching or the seniors more? Now, I feel like they're both different ball games. I mean, like, I almost feel like the seniors would probably be more, you know, people management and, you know, than the teaching side. But
well, I think the both seeing, and part of this might be the way that we qualify in Ontario, because in Ontario for the seniors, we qualify a lady scratch, a lady POA, a man scratch, a man POA, and then there's a wild card every year. So on each of the two senior teams, there was somebody that's averaging 260, definitely. On the when the teaching ladies, there was nobody that high. I mean, they were okay, but it definitely wasn't that high. And then the teaching men, there was a bunch of them that had kind of higher averages than that. So it's a little bit different. I think each, you know, and I think part of it was also the people that are on that team. But the seniors is a little bit, I'd say it's a little different than teaching because I think because of the way we qualify those people.
Yeah, we're the same here in Alberta as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends on the numbers of entries we have for each division,
Yeah.
or the scratch side of the POA side.
but
But
also about
for the most part, it's usually 2 scratch, three POA to qualify for sure.
Yeah.
That's where Greg Gigliak and Tom Stevenson and those guys have been.
Yeah.
Been able to make it. And I mean, I made it once in 2012. I think it was 2012, went to Newfoundland. It's wonderful. And I like playing the seniors here. And here in Ontario, we're fortunate because I can play everything. I can play teaching tournament and seniors, the way they've set it up. So we can play everything. But I like the seniors. It's a little bit more laid back. There's, respect for those bowlers that used to be good and maybe aren't so good now, but still want to compete.
So is it the same in Ontario as it is in Alberta? Because Greg Giglick let me in on a secret. You guys get a sandwich break after game 4?
That's his favorite.
Yes. Egg salads, let's go.
But in all fairness, that was Greg. Greg's company was sponsoring that. 4 games, they'd stop, they'd have coffee, they'd have lunch, and they'd go back and do their 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't do that.
I think this is a great time for some audience participation here, guys. Let's go. What is your favorite type of sandwich? We talking a turkey sandwich? Are we talking a roast beef? Are we talking a ham? What are we talking here? Egg salad? Let's get some comments in there. We just want to see the comments. We're not going to dwell on it, but let's see comments. What's your favorite sandwich?
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes, hot dog's a sandwich.
Wow.
Steve Barker asked the question there. Was that the year Styx had back-to-back 400s? Styx, let's start there. Who is Styx? Is that Jim Thorpe?
So he's Jeff Stevens.
Jeff Stevens.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, as I say, they were a powerhouse team that year, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
So
and it definitely was that year.
Yep.
that was they went to nationals. Nationals were in Vancouver. Surrey.
No, they were in Calgary.
Yeah.
Oh, right. We're talking Masters here. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jeff had a 403, 408, and 302, 350
No way.
in 4 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that?
I
What's
just say
that?
it made my job
800,
easy.
600. 14. That's a 1400 quad. Hey.
Yeah.
Wow. Back-to-back 400s. I'm not sure if that's a very common thing. Anybody know somebody else has done back-to-back 4s?
Gino and Bruce for sure. I think it was in their match in Regina the year Gino threw 26 in a row. I think they shot back-to-back 4s at each other.
Is that right? Back-to-back.
Yeah.
They both shot back-to-back 4s at each other.
Yeah.
And Gino had the 450.
That's incredible.
Well, Brenda lost a game, Ontario used to have trip for 2 anywhere Air Canada flies for the yearly high game. So she shot 448 the last tournament with a few games before the playdowns game. And then Jason Procher shot 450 in the second playdown game.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no way.
Crazy.
So,
Wow.
Well,
and that was her high game.
Yep.
Yeah. How many matches have you ever seen 400 over 400? Like I've heard of Gino and Bruce. I've heard of that. And didn't Timmy and Miller have one at the Autumn a few years back? But
yeah, Tim and Mark Miller at the year Tim won.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
On the Sunday afternoon.
Well,
No, Timmy
he was
won on
crowned a
Wednesday.
champion on a
Yeah.
Wednesday.
That's right.
If people don't know that story, unfortunately, the Autumn Open had some addition problems, and Mark Miller was quick enough to catch it that the champion was recrowned on Wednesday. So that's why we always give Tim a hard time about being a Wednesday champion.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's never won on a Sunday.
No, never won on a Sunday.
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
Hey,
welcome to the show, Tim. That's awesome.
Yes.
Nice. And then Dave, little footnote here, you had a master's experience too, but that's the big one I see is 3 with Brenda for the mixed doubles. I want to know about what's the mixed doubles that you played in and you guys won together.
Well, they have the first event of the year is always the mixed doubles for the tournament division. But the problem is it was always provincial weekend. Baseball. Sometimes
baseball.
I opted out to play baseball because we're always looking to play, win the provincials. But, she would get us there with her score. And then it was the playdowns. And we would just kind of light it up. We did really good for the years that we
did
played.
good. Yeah. But it was 5 games, and then you went to single knockout or double knockout?
5 games.
Single knockout, double knockout. I can't remember. Yeah.
But there was always minimum 48 teams or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you play your own game, right?
Yeah.
And then combine your score, and each 5-game score would qualify you in the top 16, and then you would play double knockout. It was always
double knockout. Yeah. And I won once with Ian Cameron actually as well.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was only 6 then.
Fun to have little side games and side pots and stuff going on. But Dave, you made a couple of national teams as well for Masters, a national silver and a national bronze. Who was on those teams, or what years were those? Do you recall?
Well, same year I won CBC 89 Newfoundland, and Greg Peteritis was high average, and then me and Dale Strutt were 9 and 10. And we got a solid bronze, and we were very happy with that. And then we played in Calgary at Chinook. I think it was Chinook. Martin Talbot was unable to play, and I was the alternate. So I got in there. But there was Mike Bates, Terry Little, Mike Rowe, myself, and who am I missing? That's terrible. Jason Procher. So, I mean, great team. We ended up second. And I think Winnipeg the Manitoba team just went crazy that year.
Yeah.
But again, it was a hot fart. Right, Carrie?
There's a hot take for you.
Hard fart over.
Hard fart.
Hashtag hot farts. Hashtag hot farts.
But how would you drink most Canadian?
Love
it.
But great experiences too. I mean, just be able to play with those guys, and we had 2 great coaches, John Willick in 89 and Brian Kay, legendary coach in Ontario, in Calgary.
Yeah, it's good.
A lot of fun. Tough to make it in Ontario with the men, though. It was just.
Yeah. Did you play most years, or is that something they made qualifying?
No,
or
I
did
played 26 years straight.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a tough. It's Ontario we're talking about here.
Yep.
It is, because they didn't start drop. At some point, Ontario started dropping your worst set, but for a lot of years, it was just you bowled what you bowled.
6 tournaments.
Yeah. So if you had a bad tournament, I mean, you were in tough. You really had to go crazy. But you remember, we're talking 120, 130 people bowling that.
Yeah.
Men.
Totally.
The first year I bowled, there was 133. It was like 86. It was craziness. I couldn't believe the amount of people bowling.
And to 6 tournaments too, all 6 counted.
Yep.
To get to the top 6, I mean, you're talking earned for that year for sure.
So there was a lot of times when, there'd be some elite players like Fraser and Ian that would make it quite a bit, but there would always be 2 or 3 players that just had a really good year, and they're top-notch bowlers too. But it was impossible to have that kind of streak like some people have.
The old fun.
Yeah.
Now, the age-old question, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but Masters are open. Which is the favorite?
Masters by far.
Masters.
Because there's no polls and you got to play as a team, and it's the provincial team and you earn your spot. Is that sort of the?
Well, I mean, I think the caliber of play is better in the Masters, just because of where you're pulling from. You're pulling, 5 of those ladies from Ontario, or men, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Different format. Mind you, the Open I'd love to play because it is different. It isn't that. In the same way as somebody had mentioned once about the National Classified Tournament.
Yeah.
Different format. That'd be awesome to win, just because it's different, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
But definitely one over the other would be Masters. Yeah.
It's a kind of a dividing question between all the guests we've ever had. It's definitely not a majority one way or the other, which is kind of neat. I think that gives both events their niche, right? Like you said, the Open is super unique because you got the pull system, and the Masters is unique because, like you said, you are playing with players that you usually don't play with, so that adds a uniqueness to in of itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always find the answer from the guests is usually kind of where the success lies as well, though, right?
Yeah.
But I always love hearing the answers.
But I would think because you're in a smaller zone, your chance to make the Open Nationals are a lot better than making Masters Nationals. At least for us in Ontario, hugely different.
In a smaller zone? I mean, I would think in a smaller zone, your chances of making nationals would be way tougher.
Well, you get a lot more tries at it, right?
Yeah.
So your percentage is slightly better.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. As a single, perhaps, or as a team, you mean, yeah.
And if you have that same group over and over and over, Central here, right, it's kind of that same, 8-10 guys that are usually making that team. And they're very successful because they do play with each other year after year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand that.
Yep.
Dave, you had mentioned earlier about the '89 CBC winner. That's a big standout on your resume for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, would that be your, in your way, one of the big tickets on your resume? Yeah,
that's it. I knew when I got my chance, I had to win that because it's so tough getting out of Ontario. 133 people, one person moved on.
So was it a 10-game qualifier?
15-game qualifier.
So qualifier is 15 games out of Ontario, 133 people, one guy moves on.
Yeah, and plus the Open champion, which was Ian Cameron that year.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do you remember what you would have qualified to make it out of Ontario there?
Well, she was leading after 5 games. And then I shot 2950 and then just under 1400 for my next 5. And that was good. And then after that, things were a little easier because you're playing one guy, one game. You're not playing 133 people.
Yeah.
15 games.
Totally.
And
it was live. It was back when CBC was live.
Oh, you had the light system.
Everything. I caught a fly live on TV and killed it on the approach.
No way. I want to see this. Where's this clip, everybody? Where is it? Go in the archive.
How do you do that? I know. Hey, can you teach me? Do I need chopsticks?
Yeah.
No, ran them here. Put them down, stepped on them. And they got a chop off.
Yeah. I would have taken a chop off.
But it was in Ontario at Plantation Lanes, one of my favorite places. Hard throwers there died a slow death. There was just so many corner pins. And I'd done a lot of practicing, and I asked a lot of people, and I thank them all from my area to come out and play 5 games with me, but we're going to play TV style every time we play. And it really helped prepare.
Smart.
And mentally, I was so focused. I pulled a lot of games out at the end, but again, you're playing one guy, 10 frames, game's not over until 10 frames. And I was really happy that I pulled it out because I figured that was my only chance. If I'm ever going to win this, it's going to be now. Yeah. And the next year I played Mark Jackson right out of the gate, and I think he shot 333 and just never opened. He just killed me dead. I shot 260 and respectable, but Mark really had it going on.
Yeah, Mark's was always that
player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, top notch player.
Yeah.
Is
he still playing?
Exploded. No,
not to my knowledge. No.
Mark Jackson, we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out in Nova Scotia, I believe, and
really,
he had back issues when he was working for Air Canada and stuff like that. So he cut his bowling career short.
We did an APB for Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson, if you're out there, get a hold of 5 Pin Universe. We're trying to reach you.
We've been trying to track him down.
Yeah, we've had a few of us try to track him down and got numbers, but he won't respond to us. So maybe it's we need to send him a hat. Yeah.
The year I won was actually the first year that they didn't have a sponsor. So the bowling proprietor sponsored it. Right. Because they had Labatt's before that. I don't even know. I think they might have had OB before that, maybe. So you could tell by then it was starting to actually decline a little bit. It lasted another, 6 or 7 years probably. Yeah. That was the end of that. But that was the tournament you wanted to win, right? That's where the cash was.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was
25,000 back in the 80s. Wow.
And it was the TV. Like, I'm going to be on TV. And of course, Saturday mornings, you'd wake up and you'd watch bowling on TV and you'd see all your, heroes and guys you look up to that are playing on there. But like, I want to be on TV. That's the one you wanted to play for every year too.
Afternoon in Ontario.
When was the last year? It must have went right to about 2000. Because I remember playing it just out of YBC.
They changed the format. They changed the money well before then, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
right. Because then they had a ladies division, and it was
the ladies went for a couple of years. I was on the first year of ladies.
Okay.
I'd say 02, 03, somewhere in there. I feel like there was a few more.
Well, I think CBC in 90 after, I think it was 2001, switched over to TSN. TSN Pins Game, then transitioned to TSN Championship Bowling or whatever the transition
was. Then there was a CBC Bowling, too, for women.
Or TSN, was it?
No, it wasn't TSN. It was CBC.
No, CBCs did have the different, for sure, the different categories, different divisions.
All I know is when I was in grade 6, they asked me what I wanted. Like, they did a little form thing, and it was like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said I wanted to be on CBCs. And I was 10. I was 10 years old. 10 years old, and that would have been like 97, 98, somewhere around there. So it must have still been around then. So
Yep.
But it was Ernie Afghanis calling the shots, and then they cut out to the hockey scores, which is always 6-5 Boston over Toronto.
Things have changed.
The old school hockey. Yeah.
Are we talking about playoffs here? Because that's what it sounds like.
So you're qualifying for the CBCs back then. It was just 15 games straight, 15 games? Because
it was
10 and you made a cut.
10, it was. Okay, yeah, because we had the same thing. And I think it was anybody within 300 pins or 100 pins or something like that.
No, they had a number, like the top 20 or something went on.
Yeah, whatever it was, 24.
We did that here in Alberta, Adam? Did you say?
Yeah, for some reason, I think it was like top 10 and then anybody else within a certain number of the leader or something along those lines ended up making it into the next cut for the final 5. I can't remember what the format was. So we needed Don Sim.
Yeah.
That's
the story out west.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Brenda, one year we were playing in Cambridge, and she was leading, and another guy came up, threw a strike, picked the ball off the rack, threw a strike, threw another strike, beat her by 12.
No, by 1.
Oh, by 1.
He thought he had lost.
To make the show.
He thought he had lost. So he just got up in the 10th and threw 3 balls and 3 strikes, and
I'm not going to mention any names.
I'm out of luck.
And you were in second then, Brenda.
Yeah, I ended up second by 1.
Well,
and that was when
she
it was
done. We knew what he needed, but he didn't know.
He didn't know, and he's just getting up and going, and you're probably thinking, like, what is this guy doing? Like, what? Dude, think about it.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, it was probably better he didn't think, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
He shot 180 on TV.
Yeah. So,
darn.
Yeah.
Dang. Keeping on, we'll go back to Brenda and your TV stuff, but keeping on Dave here. Another highlight is obviously perfect game in 2004. At any time when you get on a run 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever it is, you start to get excited a little bit. But throwing a perfect game is something special too. So where did that one take place for you?
I was so stiff I couldn't move that day. We had played a big tournament baseball all weekend. I couldn't move. I came up there, the first 2 practice balls had barely come out of my hand. Started off on a double. Everything's all good. A few more, started getting a little looser.
Where was it?
At Fleetway, our home center where we coach YBC and everything else. Well, they had Special Olympics bowling next to us. So after the 9th strike, I went up to the girl that was in charge of everyone. I said, please, do you mind if you not put anyone up there? Let me finish this one frame. Okay, I got you, sir. I go up, throw the 10th one. The guy comes running in front of me on my lane. He's going like this.
Giving you a high five.
Right? Yeah. All right. I just, calmed down. It took me about another minute to throw that ball through the 11th. Again, I'm looking around to see if anybody else is coming. 12th one, money right there. And I was just glad it worked out that way because I would have not been impressed. It was just a weird circumstance. When you go up to the person in charge, please take these people away from the lane beside me for one frame.
Yeah. They couldn't control them. That's all.
No.
It was funny. Yep.
Exciting moment for them, probably.
And were you there for that, Brenda? You watched it and you had a whole crowd at the league night type of thing?
Well, we had our 24 league.
People.
That's all it was.
Yep.
24 league. I think my dad was there, which was cool.
Yeah.
But I had thrown one a little bit earlier with the manager there bowling off. So
Okay.
It didn't count.
yeah, it doesn't count pre-bowl, but it counts in my mind because he was there with me bowling the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
But to have a sanctioned one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then a fun little one, KG Open scoring record for the triples. So was that obviously KG Open had the triples event on a Friday night you used to have?
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was a Friday. It was me, Jason Procher, and Dale Strutt. And those guys shot 9 and change. I probably hit the pocket more than them, but I couldn't get a strike. So I shot my 750 and they went crazy. But I also played the $1,000 event there too.
The Invitational.
And, ended up semifinalist.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
I needed to bag out in the tent to beat Pizzy and threw the first one and then drove through, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But
that was
times,
the big
times.
That was the big one back in the day, right? Was the KG
That was the big
Invitational?
one.
You know,
Big
to get to play in that. I mean, that was, I remember my first couple of years of watching this. What is going on here? This is big time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, me and Strutt decided one of us was going to play, so we're 500 each. And he said, "You're playing better." I said, "I am playing better," and went out and played. But our plane got delayed the night before in Winnipeg, minus 29. There were 6 of us: me and Sean McGee, Bernie Menard, Dave Seacourt, a couple other from Northern Ontario. We ended up going to the Winnipeg Jets game that night. We came back to the hotel, and they said, "Oh, here's a $75 voucher to spend in booze and food." So guess what we did? We got on a 9 a.m. flight. We landed in Saskatoon. We got to the hotel at 10. Your room isn't ready. So I slept in the lobby.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
And then went to practice about noon, and we started at 1. And I was just happy to do what happened because there was no sleep.
Why do you always get delayed in Winnipeg? Every year there's somebody.
I think we can all tell a story about getting delayed in Winnipeg or being stuck.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've been hearing it for generations in my family too.
Yeah.
It was nice to see the old Winnipeg Arena, though, once.
Yeah.
We hadn't planned on it.
Nice. So Brenda, how about you? You had 3 or 4 TSN experiences. That's pretty fun, and obviously, like we talked about, being on TV at that time was what everybody wanted to do. But how'd those go for you?
I think maybe once, maybe twice made it past the first round or first match. Sorry. But I mean, I was out in Calgary, I think twice for them, at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's one, as I said about the singles, those 10 frames go so quickly. Kind of thing.
Totally different format.
You know, and is it, different, your pins game style. So that was kind of tough too, but enjoyed the competition. I think I played Bonnie once.
Yeah.
I played her once. So yeah, it was good. It would have been nice to have more success. I know the first CBC one that was ladies. I did well. I think I played very well my first game and my second game, but lost my second game. So.
Right. I'm very impressed by both of your memories, like you and each other's too. Like Dave, awesome. Brenda's record, like you like it's.
Oh, she's incredible to watch. I mean, I'm her biggest fan. Especially at the Open, I used to just sit back in the bleachers and say, "Go, Brenda, go," and then the whole zone, "Go, Brenda, go," because there would be lots of bleachers there, tons of fans. You wouldn't believe. I mean, Kerry Snyder came down and seen the Open before its day, and he said, "This is nothing like I've ever seen." And we used to have like 3 times more fans in there.
Yeah, because we had so many zones, right? We had 24 zones of,
24 zones, and you had 48 lanes, and it was rocking.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy.
Let's go to some of the coaching volunteer side, because I know that's a big part of what you guys do now is give back. And you talked about being part of numerous YBC programs and whatnot. So that's just amazing that not only on the lanes contributing, but off the lanes and on the side and doing all the coaching. So thank you so much for the give back on that side of things. But you've just always wanted to be coaches as well. I mean, obviously your kids have played, but and then committed to all different age groups. Or where did that bug kind of just wanted to always be on the lanes? Where did the coaching come from?
Well, actually, I started in YBC probably around age 16. The program director at the time was Ron Dan, and he just encouraged me to come out and coach the younger kids. And I think over the years, that's what we tried to do with a lot of the seniors, is we tried to get them involved. The Pee-wees especially, they loved having the kids, on the lanes. And at that point, they're teaching them a lot of basics, looking at your spot, where do you stand? So I think it was good for the seniors as well. And that was even before the high school. I don't know whether you guys have it out there, but the high schoolers have to get so many volunteer hours in. So once that happened, there was a lot more kids to kind of pull from. But because I'd started so young, I just tried to make sure that the seniors were always part of that as well. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. We don't have that program out here. That's
No?
That's neither they have that. That's cool.
Yeah, no, they have to have
That makes a
so
lot
many
of
hours to graduate from high school.
Interesting.
Volunteer hours, nice.
Community service. So we'd have a bunch of them.
Community
come out-
service, but we have community service, but just in a different reason.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Wiping hockey puck skid marks off the arena. That was the worst part about community service. Just saying.
Yeah.
That's what a friend told me.
Friend.
But it was a lot of fun though too, because you could see those kids develop over the years.
Yeah.
And, a lot of them were committed back then. I mean, we're talking again, early
Few
90s,
years.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, kids wanted to play and they wanted to be good. And, we were there to get them to that next step, not just basic, but we would be able to carry them as far as they wanted to go.
And
And we had a lot of success doing that.
Yeah, we'd encourage them. We talked to the proprietors, made sure they had kind of free practice.
Yep.
And
And we
we're
would
very
go and
fortunate.
practice 2 or 3 times a week and say, hey, if you want to come out, we're coming too.
Yeah. Any of those kids that, like some of the names you want to share with us that you've sort of mentored along the way that you toot your horn a little bit that we would know on the competitive side of things?
Well, Caitlin Hewitt, she was, I guess one of the last ones we had out of Fleetway. She won the Bantam girls 4 steps. Jordan Banks is someone recently, he ended up winning the 4 steps and then because of COVID couldn't go. But he had some success at the Youth Challenge as well. Some of the Youth Challenge, some of our kids made the national team there as well.
I don't think we've had anybody win singles in Ontario. Well, Darren and Brian.
Darren, our son won singles and played out in Newfoundland. He actually played against Parker Anderson,
Oh, okay.
Shane Berry,
Okay. Yep.
and Adam Goose. He was that year, the same Bantam year. I think those 3 still play. I've seen Parker's name and I've seen Shane's name.
Yeah,
for sure.
we played Adam at Nationals here not too long ago.
Yep. So he played the year they were out there. But as I say, Caitlin Hewitt, she's not family, but she's one of the ones that made it as well. So, yeah.
I got to put this in. Darren shot 203 as a Pee-wee with no bumpers, one-handed.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And but he would just go up there and bowl. And we were there 3-4 times a week, so you just bowl.
I think that's what happens with the kids program. That's why we tried to get the kids out practicing, right? Because that's what made them better. Getting them out and being there for them to help with any things.
But we're going out to practice too.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Just throwing balls.
You got to practice.
Yep.
So.
And if you're out there, they often if you wanted to try something with them, change their foot position or their steps or that, it was a lot better to do than during league play because they didn't want to do it because it might hurt their average or something. So it was a lot better to go out afterwards.
Did you ever tell them not to play a hook?
Never, ever. Well, my key was, especially if they're just developing, bend down, follow through. because a lot of kids don't bend down. They don't use that knee, so they can't be square at the line. They're going to be hunched over or in a different position. Once they got that down, then they could, work on other things.
Yep.
Yeah. And then obviously Steve mentioned, huge builder of the bowling school in Ontario. That's program coordinator says for X years. So you've done that a little while here.
Yeah, I did it for a few years. Yeah, I think the Kathy Deku from Saskatchewan and Claudina Sula, they're the ones that developed it. And I think the second year they both ended up having surgery. So I ended up having to jump in there pretty quick and do some things. But definitely, I think I was a pro at one point. I was a curriculum coordinator. I might have been an instructor even at one point as well. But that was always a great time, great experience, great exposure for our kids. Definitely.
I mean, having that bowling school, we've talked about this many times, going to the Saskatchewan bowling school, the Ontario bowling school, Alberta's had one. Just to have something like that for these kids to go to, and quality ones for all these kids to go to, is so important for their development. So good on you for, organizing and helping and building it and coaching and doing everything you do for the bowling school. So
thanks. Yeah, well, I enjoy it. So, and I even went out once to Tom's school. He invited me out there, out to Saskatchewan. That was fun.
Nice. Then obviously masters on the volunteer side of things. Yep. On the board of directors for the Masters Association, you president and the vice president. That's some serious give back time to the volunteer side of things, Brenda. So
yeah. Well done. No, as I say, that's been my outlet or my volunteering.
Yeah.
Just through that. Yeah.
And president of the 05. Now, was it the 05 and the Middlesex, or what are you?
It's Middlesex. Middlesex Elgin is our local zone. So I'm just president of the local zone.
Gotcha.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So I like to stay involved, and bowling's been so good to us over the years, so it's my one way to give back. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And being the currently the Hall of Fame chair, there's been lots of chatter about the 05 Hall of Fame and the criteria and all the people coming in. I think you do it the best out of anybody is having that Hall of Fame there, right? So
and I think that's what the C5 tried to model it on. Yeah. I think they're moving towards that. I think the first couple of years they didn't, but they and again, it's not I'm kind of late on the game, but the people that have built that criteria, I applaud their efforts to try and take a look at the bowling resume across the board, not just from the C5 perspective, but masters, open play, cash tournaments and that, and then take all those into consideration.
Yeah, it's definitely, recognizing the right people that should be in. It's a challenge. Being on that chair and accepting the criteria, or how do you make decision? It's there's some work, because whoever you select, you look at the baseball or you look at the hockey, the Hall of Fames, there's, well, why did that person get in and not this person? Right? It's you open yourself up for sure.
Yeah, especially when you're 100 years into the sport, right? And then all of a sudden the Hall of Fame starts, and you gotta bring in those ones that were such great players.
That's right.
Let's say 75 years ago. Like, how do you compare them to what you have now? So it's definitely a balancing act, and obviously they're doing a great job because they got a Hall of Fame and they're doing something, right? So
Yep.
And obviously, speaking of Hall of Fame, Brenda, that's you were inducted in 2013 into the 05 Hall of Fame. Pretty great accomplishment. Obviously, easy to see why with your stats. But what did that ceremony, or what did that receive that looking like for yourself?
Well, it's pretty special the way Walter Heaney does speeches. He gathers this information, has a slideshow. It's a pretty awesome presentation that happens. It's an evening, there's a meal, and then the presentation. So, and to be amongst all the other bowlers and the elite and the other Hall of Fame members, it's a pretty special night. That's for sure.
That's fun.
How many people are in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, good. Now you're going to ask me that. Sorry, I don't know my numbers off heart. I should.
That's okay.
But we have builders, bowlers, players, builders, and legends. we have in ours, and it's been going on for quite a while. Initially, it was part of the Bowlers of the Industry, and then over the years has developed into what it is now. So we definitely have a good list of people. I did have the number. I know, but I can't.
How many do you induct each year?
Sometimes it changes, but it's I think last year 9 it was. So I think between 7 and 9 is the number. It's changed over the years. But we did 4 bowlers, 2 builders, and 3 builders and a legend the last time. Sometimes depending on the year, depending on who's up, who we've kind of selected, we'll make a point of saying, well, we really think we should have an extra one. Especially if they're legends and there may be, some of them may be deceased already, that, some of those are the factors that play, but it's generally between 7 and 9, or has been in my experience over the last number of years.
So does 236 sound right?
36 sound.
236.
Yeah.
I think
numbers. Wow.
Yeah, I just pulled it off the website and threw it in Excel, because I can't count that fast.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and some of them are dual inductees. So some of them may have been bowlers that excelled at the game and then have gone back to give something like Fraser Hambley and Ian Cameron are both dual inductees, as well as Walter Keeney. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And do you earn, what do you get for it? I mean, obviously a plaque and a certificate.
Yeah,
and
you get a lovely ring. It's a lovely ring.
Yeah.
You get. And then when you're a dual inductee, you can either get, I think, a stone on that, or you can get a plaque or something. But it's a lovely ring you get.
Right. And Steve asked, do you do inductions every 2 years? Is that what?
It generally is every 2 years. Yes.
Okay. So that's why there can be 7 every 2 years. Isn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. And so with the committee kind of, as you say, the form, you may have seen it on the C5 site, but that's generally what our form is. And the committee is a committee of 11, and we go through applications. They're submitted. We review them. I guess there is some bias always as to personal bias each, but again, there's 11 people on this committee that's making those choices. It's not just myself. So.
Right.
Yeah,
that's good
for sure.
Robust, and you have to be, especially when you're inducting, people into a Hall of Fame. It's not something you can take lightly, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
And Dave, a couple of fun things here. You coached a couple of guys in the Masters singles, Bobby Torville and Cody Laycock. So,
they beat Alberta guys. Oh yeah.
Tim's not too happy.
Where's Timmy? Hey, must have been a Sunday.
No, it was not. It was a Saturday always, because the bank was Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, the 2 times it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So were you right down to the pit with
good players, great players. Bobby playing Schultz down in desperate needs, desperate times come through. Cody, same thing. I think would he get shot against him 370 in the first game or something?
Tim shot a big
so
game.
Cody was first qualifier.
Yes.
No, second. No.
No.
Tim was high.
Tim was high.
Wasn't he?
But it's 2 out of 3, right, in Masters.
No.
Yeah,
Tim wasn't. Tim was second because he tied.
Was he?
He tied with Tyson Nelson. He tied with him.
Oh,
and then they had a roll off to see.
Okay.
Yeah, they faced each other first. I'm pretty sure.
And then
90%. I should know. I was there, and he is my brother.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we needed a timeout after that first game, and we were granted one. And luckily enough, Cody kind of found out what he was doing.
Yeah.
And threw a lot of strikes after that. A lot of fun down there in the pit, though.
Is it always Masters is best 2 out of 3? Is it?
First one to win 2.
Yeah.
First one to win 2.
First one to win 2, and even all the step ladder, like 5th place, 4th place, 3rd,
No,
or just in the
top 3.
Top three.
Top 3.
So does 3rd place, 2nd, and still a best 2 out of 3.
Yep.
Okay. See, I'm learning all these things, hey guys. They get me around. Hashtag not a Masters guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Also, I was kind of in the pit with Mike Rowe too when he won, but I didn't have my level 2, so I couldn't officially be down there.
Right.
And same with Brenda when she won. I was there, but officially not her coach because I wasn't level 2.
And I think that's why he went and got his level 2 so that he could be. and it'll be
Right.
there because that's the criteria. So. Yeah.
So
So
it
I'm
wasn't
sure-
like in tennis where you're in the stands giving hand signals.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
For me, it
this,
was, what are you doing?
Yeah. So,
So
when
the-
you're with somebody like that in the pit and in your experiences, what do you say to them? I mean, what's
Positive.
the conversation?
Everything's positive. Everything's positive. You want to keep them loose, keep them relaxed. You know, you're not doing nothing wrong. You know, right? Never look back. Always look forward. Especially with Bobby's Newfoundland win there. That was my motto. Never look back. You're only looking forward, looking straight ahead. With Cody, we call it timeout. We're changing the field, changing the playing field now. Go ahead, do what you got to do. I mean, you just can't be negative. You cannot, and I don't give instruction because these guys are top-notch players. Unless I see something terribly wrong, I will not say nothing to technically coach them.
Yeah.
All motivation, get in the mood you're got to be in to throw those shots. With Bobby, I actually told him 5 frames left. You sucked on this lane for 5 frames. Do something. I don't care what you do. Just do it and move.
He said no.
And he finished it out. And, you know, he was happy to get that W.
Yep.
But that's all you're there for. Get the W, get out.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, score, who cares? Get the W.
Yeah, I may be wrong, and you can correct me on this story. The last match between Bobby and Matt had a chance in 10, and did he punch or did he?
No,
I
Chop
think he
picked the
side
3.
of Chop to pick the 3. That's
Chop
what it was,
cherry.
yeah.
Yeah. Bobby was dead married. But he made him do something in the 10th. So that's all you can do at that point. When you're down that much, just try and make him make a shot because he didn't have to 4 frames before that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And way to go, Bobby. Hope he's watching. I played golf in the last 2 days.
Nice.
Well, I got a question. Why do you actually need a level 2 Masters to be in the pit at one of these events?
Yeah, that's one of the questions that they've kind of asked. But I think part of it is trying to elevate the sport. You know, with the long-term athletic development and all those coaching programs, they're trying to make sure that it elevates it to that standard. Because you're right. I mean, do you really need a level 2? You want somebody you're comfortable with. As I say, I was comfortable with Dave, but he didn't have his level 2. But they're just trying to make sure that we elevate that game to those standards.
But I think, hasn't the 05 dropped that?
No,
It's still level 2?
No, it's still level 2. Yep.
And kind of the reason I ask is we're having trouble in this game right now to continue keeping numbers where they're at already.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden those, you know, kind of fringe coaches or level 1 coaches now don't get necessarily involved in the game.
Yep.
And we're starting to see them kind of, you know, drop the game altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand, you know, kind of have that minimum standard in play, but is it really necessary would be the question, right?
Yeah, but again, I think it's the sport and the coaching levels and the funding and all that for our sport. That's why they started it. I mean, years ago, I would have participated when they didn't have that, right? Because I remember the controversy of them bringing it in. But again, they're just trying to elevate that sport, and then the government funding and all that. You have to show that. So that's why they do that.
I think it's consistent. Like Jeff Cannon just kind of commented, it's not just bowling; it's every sport. Every sport's kind of having that issue. There's some sports that obviously have lots of participation level, but there's some that are declining, like bowling, curling's one of them.
Yeah.
Even baseball is declining numbers, but they still need that level 2 that for that Sport Canada thing, right?
Yeah.
To
Are
get
you
your
talking
funding and
baseball,
stuff like
slow pitch, softball, kids?
that. Sorry, fastball here in West.
Fastball. You
Okay.
need a level 2 to go to provincials or Canadians?
To have a coach for provincials, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's for funding and stuff like that, right? So that's why they've really worked to try and bring those coaching programs up and get people involved with them. So
I think it's, having people on your side that maybe if they don't have that, they could be not in the pit, but they're at the back of the pit. There's no rule that a bowler can't go outside the pit, right? And go and talk to the guy that you want to, right? So I get where you're coming from, Adam, is that why do you have to have that? I want somebody else in there. Well, then go and talk to somebody else, right? So there's, 3 people, 4 people, front row of the bleachers, right? To do what's comfortable for you. And if it's, having a figurehead sitting there next to you, that's fine. But I get it, right? If there's somebody else you need to go and see that's not certified, then go and see them, right?
Well, the year that I come second in singles, we both made stepladder. So she couldn't coach me, I couldn't coach her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Even though she was done before me.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, yeah.
It's all fun and games. Right? That's why we've been 32 years.
Yeah, there you go. Congrats.
And then here's a fun one, Dave. Highest rank of number 9 for Canadian men. I do recall at some point there was a full national ranking system.
Al Hong made national rankings.
Yeah.
And in 89, at the end of 89, I was number 9.
Nice.
And they had done that for only a couple of years, maybe 3 to 4, the most that I can remember.
I remember there being something after and it was really heavily weighted towards the Open. I think, if you made the nationals for the Open, there was, lots of points, right? I do recall some of those early years when we played in the Open, and there were some national ranking systems in that way. So do you recall why that stopped, or where did it fall, or where did, it didn't have cash tournaments and outside. Where did that?
Probably had.
I don't think they involved hardly any cash tournaments.
No, they didn't.
Because Al Hong was with the C5.
Yeah.
So it would probably be C5 events.
Okay.
Only.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, if heavily weighted on the Open, right, probably your C5 winner, and if they played Masters and got a medal, right, they were going to be the champion.
Yeah. The ranked number 1 for the next year.
But those kinds of things take time and effort, and that might have been part of the problem too, right?
Sure.
But at least it was off the ground, right?
Yeah.
Which was generally appreciated. Sure, rank the people.
100%.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, we have, obviously, Kerry, you've put a lot of effort into the ranking systems of WCBT, but really it's just WCBT guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to weight. Like you said, Ontario at this point has 14 teams that compete. How do you weight that against an Alberta 5-team Open Provincial? It's almost you have to make nationals to receive points, but there's probably a ton of Ontario players that average 290 at the Ontario level, but never made it to nationals. So how are you supposed to negatively affect them when you have a 210 player that made it out of another province? That isn't really fair. So there's got to be a way to rank that event specifically first before you can incorporate it with other associations, other events to make it a broader spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There has to be a way. Somebody has to figure out how to rank each one of those specific associations first, and then you can figure out a way to balance it against the other ones.
Right, and to get a true national ranking system. But so the only one really now is WCBT that I know. I don't know if Club Tour has its own ranking or something. But
they do have. They call it the East tournaments or whatever, but it's the 2 Club Tour events: Timmins, the Midland Open,
right,
and
Yeah.
Was there another one? I don't quite recall. It might have been only the 4 tournaments.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So, yeah, ours is really easy for the WCBT and even the 5-pin universe rankings because it's specifically based off WCBT rankings. So you know exactly where people finish at every event. So you can weight them. You can add a depreciation scale to them. It makes a lot of sense because they're all comparable. Now going against other associations is just without them having a ranking system, it's impossible to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fun to debate for hours and hours.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you often we've asked it before, who's the best bowler in Canada?
Dexter.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was
And-
gonna try to make your face as big as I could, but I couldn't get that.
And that's true, right? Like Mark Goulet, right? Well, you'll always get, or Mark Goulet, or however you wish to pronounce his last name, will always get a big Ontario vote because he's averaging 300 plus. But how does he stack up against West players if he never plays against West players?
That's right. Yep.
How do you know, right? So you could say he's definitely the best average player in Canada, but is he the best player? Nobody will know.
Mhm.
No.
There's lots of guys.
And then that's
Ontario.
always been the problem of Ontarians going west to play tournaments because realistically, a lot of Westerners don't come east
Yep.
over the years. I mean,
Exactly.
the KG was huge.
Yeah, KG. And when Uxbridge was happening, we had a few West players
Yep.
going to
Oh,
play
right.
Uxbridge.
Yeah.
But with Club Tour event falling on the exact same weekend as our longest running tournament out west,
It's tough.
it's hard to split that advantage, right? So
Mhm.
it's getting Timmins is getting a lot of attention, and I think there's a
Right.
few West players who want to play Timmins. So
Mhm.
it's coming with the growth of the cash side of things because it seems to be the thing that's growing. So hopefully with that growth, we'll see that transition where you get Canadian wide play instead of West versus East play.
Right. Yep.
But again, I don't know what your pinfall's like compared to what Ontario pinfall's like. In the past, it's always been a lot different.
Hmm.
I don't know about now. I mean, because Ontario, you could always move the ball. When I went out to KG and wherever else, the ball wouldn't move. So why try to move it?
Right.
And
so that is kind of the issue from what we've seen at nationals is you go out east, it tends to be a little bit drier, maybe due to the humidity levels, right? So you get more ball movement where out west there's more, it seems like there's more oiling or there's at least oil still on the lane and the ball is definitely straighter. So like you said, it's not so much a pinfall. I think it's a lane condition issue, not a pinfall issue.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
Because the pin specs are exactly the same across the board, right? Either you're
what if you're
18-inch
using the
spinners or
17-inch pins? Right?
Well, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both out. They're both doing it. Nebs is running 17. Bonnie
Yeah.
Doon's running 17 out here.
Yeah.
So the specs are same across the board. It's just how you're conditioning the center to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it seems like West always consumes or conditions their lanes the same way all the time, where East conditions their lanes all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's
just an
interesting.
adjustment no matter where you go.
I really wish there was more crossplay so we could make it more comparable. So the main comparison we can make is like Mitch Davies and Greg DeGrazia and those guys that come play out west here a lot more frequently. They're consistently really good playing out here, but they're also consistently really good playing out in Ontario. So just by their comparison, we could say East and West are equal.
Yeah.
Really.
But Mitch comes out and plays a different game. Mitch goes out, he's playing in Ontario and stuff. He plays a lot of end over end and accuracy. And when he comes out here, he makes sure he knows right away he starts turning the ball way more. It's all about a lot more rotation than he would normally play out east. So, but he knows the adjustments, and that's what this game is about, right?
Sure.
You're always just trying to find the adjustments and score. Yeah.
I like that.
That's what makes the best players because they can go to any of those conditions and find a way to succeed, and that's what this game's truly about at this level, right?
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
Fun. I like debating that, the East-West. How do we combine? How do we get national ranking? How do we, because at the end of the day, there's only a handful of guys that come here, right? We might have a more thriving tour, and then otherwise you're playing at nationals, right? You're playing at Masters or you're playing Open Nationals. So it's always a good debate.
Yeah, and before JB gets all butthurt, sorry, it's West versus Central because
That's
Yeah.
Great podcast, guys. Is there any last comments that any of you guys want to make for this podcast?
No, I think you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah,
and,
great job, guys. Yep.
For the bowling world that's
Oh no.
No.
Well, good timing. Good
Oh, their
timing.
Wi-Fi dropped?
Yeah.
Well, they
Was
made
it
it this long.
Was it 11 o'clock? It's 11 o'clock there. Must have been curfew or something.
They have screen time on their iPhone. And it's like, nope, it's been 2 hours.
What amazes me the most, guys, is the support that they have for each other, right? Dave saying that, we just love watching Brenda. I mean, that is something fairly rare in the community. I mean, there's definitely some success stories of couples, but I mean, that's just amazing to the support that they've had for each other, obviously, knowledgeable about each other's games and being right beside each other the whole way is something very admirable. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. To hear Brenda's stories, especially with the master side, playing with Connie Ward and all those other amazing, even some of the podcast guests we've had on, like Kathy and all that, it's pretty cool to see her side, because me personally, I didn't hear a lot about Brenda's career till Tim had suggested bringing her on and stuff like that, and you read her accolades and look back through the history and stuff like that, and it's sad, I guess, because we're out west, we don't hear a lot about their accolades, and maybe they do hear more of it out in Ontario, but I'm glad we're doing this podcast so we can hear about these players.
Yeah
100% preserve that history of the amazing bowlers that we had.
There you go. Thanks, Brenda.
Yeah, the amazing bowlers we've had and are having, and super grateful that we are doing this. But yeah, you're right. I hadn't heard her accolades, and they are phenomenal. I mean, she's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. She has an incredible resume, and
I've known, but again, I've known of Brenda and Dave, obviously, in a couple of early on nationals, 2003 and some of those early years, knew the names for sure. But yeah, it's super neat to be able to do this, and then you actually get the resume and you actually see the numbers, right? I probably didn't realize that she would have played in the London region, would have been we talked about Bonnie McDonald, right? You were the spoiler, you were the one coming in to compete, but knowing that you probably weren't going to make it. But to be so passionate about the sport in so many different areas is fantastic. And they're both just incredible ambassadors for the game. So very, very happy Tim lined them up and got them on the store, or got them on the podcast. So it was solid. It was good stuff.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Adam, for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Hey, 20 minutes to go type thing. And just to kind of reiterate everything you guys are saying, just I always knew Brenda as a Masters player, and I've never really played too many of the Masters. Like I think I've only made 4 nationals or whatever, but I always knew she was a big player there, just from basically growing up with Jen Marshall Smith and Tracy Smith and all that crew. And they've had nothing but great things to say about Brenda and just what type of a competitor she is, and really had a lot of fun listening to both of them. I was interested to kind of get their take on what the future of YBC with their direct involvement for so many different years, because that YBC it's in deep trouble right now, right? And my son Braxton is actually able to play YBC again this year, so we're back kind of in that mix, and I'm really interested to see what the future is for YBC.
I'm looking forward to harassing him every weekend.
Me too.
But you're right. Obviously, the YBC, we haven't talked about it too much, but there's a little bit of a split, and stuff going on with C5 and Bowl Canada and programs being run. So I think there's a lot of people interested to see how the fallout is going to be and what's going to happen with YBC. What's the future? What's the future of all of these guys, and how does it all look? And do they get to work together again at some point, or what's it going to look like? And that's a big question for a lot of us. Yeah,
and this may be a bit of a hot take, but I don't think it could get any worse, because we all know YBC was on a downward spiral. Mm-hmm. Numbers were continuously going down. So maybe this shakeup is exactly what the sport needed, and maybe who knows what the association is going to do. I don't have insight to either way, but I hope one of them decides to pick up the slack and figure this thing out, because you need the proprietors for this game, but you also need the associations that can get the funding and help regulate the sport. So they got to work together.
Figure your shit out, people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you'll have to get Tim to give the full rundown of the new C5 board that was just selected there last week as well. So
so congrats there. Obviously, Len Isleson, right? He's the president, and then Nanette's VP, and Tim's now on the second VP. So we've got a direct link to C5 executive. We ever needed it, right? So
utilize them, boys.
Obviously, he's careful, obviously, and doesn't. There's some in-camera stuff that you can't really do, executive side of things, but. yeah, man, to be on the inside knowledge and both being on the proprietor side and the 5-pin universe. I mean, whatever we can do to help mend and bring the game to the forefront and have podcasts and interview the history of the game, like Jim says. So happy to do what we do.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you to Posty. Yeah, great call, Kathy.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. As long as I've been playing the Open, he's been there. So,
big time.
That's congratulations. It's been great having you around. Don't be a stranger.
And, Tim's not here to line up the next guest, but obviously with getting back to bowling, we've got a lot of people on the list. So we're hoping to line up some really good guests coming up and continue to do these podcasts. We may not get to do them every week because of schedules and, 5-pin U, 8 gamers and pro team leagues, but, definitely on the calendar. If we can, we will. But yeah, there's some more good guests coming up. So
yeah, and I think we might have more event oriented podcasts coming in the future. Like right before Autumn Open, we'll bring on some Autumn Open coordinators and stuff like that, TPC, and we'll try and do the same for our Central Canada tournaments as well. And hopefully Newfoundland wants to get in on this. We're happy to help promote whatever we can. So if you want to promote your tournament, your product that's part of 5-pin bowling, just get in contact with us. We're easy to get a hold of. We're all over Facebook, Instagram. Our Patreon is obviously the easiest way to get a hold of us. So do it
subscribe, and you'll have a better chance.
That's right.
Yeah, to patrons. Yeah.
You'll get a response.
Love it. And best of luck to everybody that's obviously starting your leagues, right? Their YBC registration, your adult leagues, your mixed, your match play, whatever they look like. I mean, bowling hopefully is coming back, and you're able to play, whether it's a 50%, whether it's 100% with masks, whatever it looks like. So hopefully everybody can get out there and get playing, and we can talk a lot more bowling rather than just fluff.
Instead of filling our podcast full of COVID.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here comes the All-Star draw. I know Weber got in there. Maybe he might win one of these days, but we got 25 entries.
I doubt it.
Here we go.
Hey, they have new star lines out there.
I'm calling Wilton. Right. I'm calling Brad Wilton.
Was Wilton in there?
Yeah.
Isabel, nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Interesting. I think I just had a message with that person not too long ago, so that works out good. Alrighty.
Beautiful.
I think you did.
All right. Well, thank you very much for everybody joining in. Once again, thanks, guys, for joining. Adam, with the 20-minute heads up. You stepped
reliable.
Always love it, boys. Thanks for the offer.
Yeah,
always.
Not a problem. All right, you guys.
See everyone.
Have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.